7 o'clock, and I'm going to start the meeting. Good evening. This is the Community Preservation Committee, and I need to go ahead and read the remote participation text in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirements that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberation through adequate and alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom meeting ID number 840-0877-2826 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, the Assistant Town Manager, at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting during business hours. Again, I called the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. All right, thank you. There's Chuck. Hey, I tell you, I don't think I've had so many screens. I mean, this is impressive. I know, it's like moving up in the world. Jeff, this is what it must feel like, being town moderator and everything. It's like, whoa.
This crowd looks much less hostile.
That is true. That is true. Okay.
Give me time.
Oh, come on, Jess. Oh, and Julie's agreeing too. So, all right. Need the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any corrections or anything that they want to change on it?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
Okay. Nope. All right. Well, I'm going to go through Barry. Can I have a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve the agenda as posted.
Okay, Jess makes the motion. Who seconds?
I'll second that.
All right, Barry seconds. I got to go through the roll call. Julie?
Yes.
Okay. Barry?
Yes.
Jess?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. And Colleen is just joining us now. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from January 15th. I did not see anything as, I'm going to always say this pretty much that, Jess, thank you so much. You do a great job. Does anybody have any type of corrections? All right, I'm hearing crickets. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
All right, Barry makes the motion. Can I get someone a second?
Second.
All right, Colleen seconds. All right, doing the roll call, Barry?
Aye.
Jess?
Aye.
Colleen?
Aye.
Julie?
Yes.
All right, and the chair says aye. So approved. There really hasn't been any correspondence or invoices. So I think we're all set on that. And I'm going to go right into old business. And old business, I'm going to call on Bruce. Bruce is here in place of, I think we discussed Jonathan Strauss asking us for support. We did give, okay, hold on a second. This is good. Beth is going to be showing up, and she's the one who's got a lot of questions, possibly Bruce, as well as Jess. With that, it's with regards to the West Groton Rail Trail update, where the West Groton Rail Trail wants to continue on through that part of from right into West Groton, across by the Groton Forest, over into Ayer, over by the Priest Bridge, which is off of Groton Shirley Road. So I'm going to hand it over to Bruce to talk a little bit about the project. It's going to take a few years anyways to get everything going, but you guys wanted to all put your ducks in a row. But thank you so much, Bruce, for showing up.
Oh, you're quite welcome, and thank you for what you all do for the town of Ayer. As an introduction, I am a member of the Community Preservation Committee in Groton and have been for, I guess, 20 years now. We adopted it in the November 2004 presidential election. So we've been at it for a while. We weren't certainly one of the first adopters. We tried to get it passed at town meeting the first attempt in 2001, but there was some skepticism whether this was for real or not. But by 2004, that skepticism had died down, and so we were able to adopt it at 3%. I think one of the things that's interesting about Ayer is you guys adopted it at 3%, and then it went to 1%, and then you're back to 3%. So that's kind of unusual. I'm also a member of the steering committee on the Community Preservation Coalition. So I'm dealing with Stuart Saganor and Chase Mack pretty much on a weekly basis, trying to keep the community preservation at the state level on track. And so I'm always interested in visiting other CPAs to find out how they operate. And of course, the CPA law provides a lot of freedom for different towns to do different things in terms of how they want to run their meeting and their application and funding process. So I'm interested to hear more and learn from you.
We've got a good group here, Bruce. I'm very, very lucky. I'll say it that way, of being chair of this committee.
That's good. And Ayer was one of the first towns to adopt the Community Preservation Act too. So you guys could read the writing on the wall in a way that Groton and other towns didn't. The reason why I'm here specifically tonight is to talk to you about a future project that may impact you, and to let you know that what's going on in the towns of Townsend and in the towns of Groton with regard to the Squannacook River Rail Trail. And the Squannacook River Rail Trail has been 10 years in the making to get the first 3.7 miles done. Right now, it starts in the center of Townsend and it runs to the Bertozzi Wildlife Management Area in West Groton. And we're in the process of getting the funding together to do the permitting to extend that rail trail from the center of Townsend all the way to the New Hampshire border, and then south from Bertozzi all the way to the bridge going over the Nashua River into Ayer. And we believe that that bridge in itself is a project which is probably at least 2 years away from us, because our immediate focus is getting the lease agreement with the MBTA and the freight rights issue straightened out with Genesee in Wyoming, which is the operator of that line in Ayer. Genesee in Wyoming has indicated that they are not interested in holding the freight rights north of the bridge. So at least on the Groton side, getting the legal rights to turn it into a rail trail seems to be less of a burden. The railroad company is interested in maintaining access to the railroad south of the bridge because they would like to be able to use it to actually switch train cars into the sidings that are there at the building materials company that's right there on Groton Shirley Road.
Will they cross over Groton Shirley Road? I mean, I thought that that's where pretty much it stopped.
They would like to maintain access to the rails north of Groton Shirley Road, but south of the bridge abutments.
Okay, so pretty much everything will stop at the bridge.
Yeah, unless we and you can arrange to take some of that 82.5 foot wide corridor for a pedestrian on the side of it. It's 82 feet wide, but they only need about 10 feet for the railroad track, right? So you've got a lot of room on either side that they could actually convert into a railroad track with a 3 foot tall chain link fence to keep the pedestrians off the railroad tracks. But that's, again, I'm thinking, at least 2 years out. So the Squanicook Greenways on Monday submitted a Mass Trails grant application for $150,000 to do the environmental permitting for the section from the center of Townsend up to the New Hampshire state border. They've also submitted, as part of that, to go from Bertozzi down to just north of Hollingsworth and Vose, which is right on the river in West Groton. And then the group that I'm with is called the West Groton Rail Trail, which is a town committee, a Groton town committee, as opposed to Squanicook Greenways, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit. And our task here is to get from just north of Hollingsworth and Vose down to the railroad bridge. And so we have access to CPA money. And so we have an application into the Groton CPA for $75,000 for the permitting from the railroad bridge up to just north of Hollingsworth and Vose. The state of Massachusetts has indicated they wanted a single filing for the rest of the rail trail from the bridge all the way to the New Hampshire border. They did not want to see this thing chopped up into pieces for the primary reason of making sure that we didn't slide under certain thresholds for review for natural heritage. And there are, I guess they've had some experience with other applicants chopping their project up into small enough pieces that each one was not subject to a major review. And so the state has indicated that that is not going to happen here. And so we are teaming up with Squanicook Greenways in order to submit a common application with the natural heritage and other state agencies that will have a say on whether this thing goes forward or not. And so that's where we are. And of course, at some point, we would like to extend the trail across the railroad bridge and then teaming up with the Ayer CPC and using grant money from the state to get to Ayer Shirley Road, which would be, I think, as far as we could practically go in the near term because of the increased use of that railroad line.
Yeah, because I know that they do still make drop-offs to, like you said, the manufacturing plant there, but I thought that really it stops at Groton Shirley Road and they pretty much reverse and go back the other way. Because that would be, I mean, that would be important to know if south of the bridge, if I'm thinking right, is Groton Shirley Road. So we need to know if that's, where they're going to actually stop. So
yeah, they have given us the mile marker that we can look up on the VAL maps provided by the railroad dated 1975. And they're giving us about 10 feet up. They're interested in being within 10 feet of that bridge abutment, the south bridge abutment on the bridge over the Nashua River. So that's their interest at this point.
okay.
So we'd have to come off the bridge and immediately sidestep over to the side of the railroad right of way if they'll give us permission, and then we would have to walk down the side so that they can maintain the use of the rails up to within 10 feet or so of the bridge abutments.
Okay.
And we can share those letters with you from them so that you know exactly what what we know in terms of what they're thinking.
That would be great.
Okay.
I know I've got some people with questions. Is that okay if we start asking?
Yeah, go ahead, shoot, and I'll do my best.
Beth?
Yep. Hi, Bruce. Thank you for coming tonight. It's great to hear about all of the progress being made on this rail trail. I was just wondering if when you had conversations with MIPA and other permitting entities, if they wanted the air section to be considered in the permitting process as well, or you think that that's a logical terminus for them, that they're not concerned about just that little addition, because it would be, I guess we don't know exactly how little of an addition it would be yet, but I'm just wondering if that was discussed. Because obviously you're not proceeding with permitting that section right now.
Yeah. Of course, the town of Groton has no authority to do anything in air or spend any Groton CPA money in air. So at least from our perspective, that's the end of our interest and responsibility in terms of the rail trail. It's not clear to me whether the state will require us to provide the permitting all the way to Air Shirley Road. And we'll have to figure out how to fund that if that's the case, but we'll let you know. And this may slow us down a little bit if that's the case. But we'll see.
So when the Townsend section was done, had they gotten permits, but they hadn't permitted the full extent then? Is that so
Right.
they
just permitted it from the center of Townsend to Bertozzi.
Okay. And then with the section in Groton that would be north of the bridge, that is still technically active rail line, but you've heard from G&W that they're willing to dissolve that, to sell that. So has the Surface Transportation Board been engaged yet?
Yes, we've actually had G&W has sent some information that they've had conversations with the Surface Transportation Board, which they would have to approve the relinquishing of the freight rights on that. G&W has indicated that they're not interested in going north of the bridge, and I think one of the reasons why is putting a locomotive over that bridge would take a serious engineering assessment of whether that bridge can actually take it in its current position or not. Of course, one of the things we'll do in sort of phase 2 when we start working on the bridge is do an engineering assessment of that bridge and assess its capacity for equestrians and pedestrians, right?
Mm-hmm. I know right now it's really difficult to walk over.
It's a little dangerous. I haven't walked over it. I've always driven around to the other side and walked up in order to see both ends of it.
It reminds me more of an Indiana Jones movie where you're going to be jumping from, log to log to log, and there's nothing to hold on to. So,
and then when you say phase 2, is that the West Groton phase, or is that a phase with air that you're thinking of later?
Yeah, phase 2 would be the bridge and then south to Air Shirley Road.
All right. And then for your Groton phase, would it be like you'd ride to the bridge and turn around, or is there an outlet that's convenient somewhere close to the bridge?
There is a trail within the town forest that goes from near the end of the bridge, maybe 200-300 feet from the north abutment back to the town forest parking lot. So we have been talking to the Groton Town Forest Committee to see if they have any heartburn. They will be one of our largest abutters on that section. And so we've been talking to them to make sure that they don't have any heartburn. But hopefully having people end and then head to the parking lot in the town forest. It will be a short-term event until we get that bridge. And the bridge will be, I believe, qualify as part of a Mass Trails grant, intermunicipal. And that provides additional score points as they evaluate these.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the
And a higher budget.
Mass Trails requires a 20% match. We've used our Groton CPA money on a number of grant applications to provide that 20% match. So we will be looking into getting a recreational trails grant or a Mass Trails grant, or perhaps even some other funding in order to make sure that we reduce the cost or the depletion of the CPA funds in the two towns.
Well, this all sounds good, and I'm happy to have follow-up conversations. I'm very familiar with working on designing rail trails. So, and I
Oh,
see
great.
that Jeff is attending too, is another big bike and ped advocate. But I worked in Sudbury on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
Wow.
And you talked about how fast everything was able to proceed in Townsend compared to the 20+ year exercise that Sudbury went through to get their section of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail done. So I was glad to be able to be there at the end. So,
Yeah,
I
that's
may-
quite the project. I don't, are they in Fitchburg at this point? Have they gone all the way to
Framingham, you mean?
Framingham,
Yeah.
excuse me?
Framingham has acquired their section of the CSX corridor now, but
Okay.
it's still in design.
There were a
Correct.
number of
That-
private ownership issues down there, weren't there? Sudbury, they had sold off some of the rail corridor. Was that true?
We had one contiguous piece to acquire from CSX like 4 years ago, and that design is pretty much complete for the Sudbury section and to Easton Road in Framingham, but then the Framingham section is still in design.
Yeah. Well, I've ridden it from Lowell all the way into Acton. The bridge over the Route 2 wasn't done at that time, but it's quite the trail. I mean, you can just go like 20 miles an hour on a bike on that thing. It's just
So
We
If
don't
I may-
recommend
Smooth
it, but
faster.
you can.
yeah, you can now go to the Diamond in Wayland and head
Uh-huh.
west, and you can ride to Northampton. I did it this year.
wow.
All the
My
way
team
to.
So
told me
this-
on the Mass
This trail
Central.
that we're thinking about would be crushed stone, so I don't think
Yeah.
people are going to be going too fast.
Mhm.
Have you seen any of the Squanicook River Rail Trail portion that's already been done? Have you got a chance?
Yeah,
to
I've
get out
read
there and take a look
ridden
at
the
it?
whole section.
What do you think of it?
It's very nice. I was wondering what they're gonna do at the washout location. Because that's where it kind of ends, or it continues on the other side of the washout, I think, doesn't
Yeah.
it? But it's,
I think they're going to
Yeah.
bridge it.
yeah.
The stream crossing standards now pretty much don't want to see culverts anymore.
Right.
You got to have these open areas so that the animals can easily get through, both the terrestrial animals as well as the aquatics and amphibians.
Mhm.
All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and, Bruce, you know that we're here to help,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
So definitely, if there's anything that we can go ahead and do and make sure that you include us, as you're looking forward to the phase 2. And if there's anything that we need to do as well, like, put any type of letter together or request together so that we can be sure to know what type of area we have up to Groton Shirley Road. Because I know, like, again, the bridge is going to be the biggest bulk of everything. Let us know, all right?
All right, we do want to thank you for submitting the letter of support for the Groton CPA money. That answered a lot of potential questions that the CPC was going to shoot at us, but thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
And as we talk more with the MBTA and G&W, we'll keep you abreast of that because that's probably the next thing that will have an impact
Excellent.
in Ayer.
Yeah, and definitely for that conversation, keep the entire section that they're willing to part with in one piece so that so that we don't have to go back and do anything for an air section, right? Because that federal Surface Transportation Board process is quite involved. And I hope that, G&W will be a good partner in it.
Yeah. In previous conversations with the railroad, abandoning the freight rights, there's a filing that has to be done with the federal government. And they wanted us to pay for that as part of that abandonment process, which seems completely reasonable to me, right? That's an incurred expense for them for no benefit. And since we are benefiting, it seems like as long as the costs are reasonable to actually pay that filing cost for them, I think is something that we should think about doing.
All right, well, definitely keep us informed and let us know what we can do and yeah, and what our next steps really could be. So,
Okay, we will do that.
all right. Okay, Bruce, again, thank you very much. Anybody else have anything else, Jess?
Nope.
No? All right.
And if it's all right with you, I'll just hang out and learn from you on how to
Yeah.
run a CPA meeting.
Yeah. Bruce, my only other comment is I believe it was Holliston who acquired rail corridor. I'm not sure if it was still active or if it had been rail banked at the time that they started working on that, but they might be a good resource for you to talk to.
Holliston?
I'm pretty sure it was them, but I'll check my records too.
Yeah, if you could send me a contact down there, that'd be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And I definitely get a letter of recommendation from River Court because that would be able to be used by their residents.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna move on with our new business. And new business would be Luke and Chuck with regards to the funding request for the library for the roof. I'm going to first, I had homework to do, Luke, to find out with regards to the community preservation funds that are available. And it looks as if the newer part of the roof does need to come from some sort of capital funding or another type of funding, even though it all has to be done at the same time. So I think we're in the category, if your total amount is the 300,000 and you're looking for the 214, then I think that works out, of breaking it up that way. Do you want me to, do you want to share? I don't know if you want to share or I have the application up.
Yep, I've got I've got this.
Excellent.
Can you see that all right? Yeah. So this is the full application document, but because we've got Chuck here, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to go into greater detail about the actual work that needs to be done. And so this first page here is just the first page of his presentation, which again, for clarity, has the original budget, and we'll circle around to that topic in a second. But Chuck, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, everyone can hear me okay. Thanks for having me here tonight. Luke, you can go to the next page whenever you're ready. All right, a little background information on the roof itself. Most recent bid findings we can find on it is from 1995. Complete job was only $82,000 back then, surprisingly. I mean, it's been 30 years, but it's a lot cheaper. That's to do 6,800 square feet of shingles, 3,000 square feet of rubber membrane roof, flashing copper valleys underlayment. Over the last 5 or so years, put in about 22 grand in repairing leaks and such. It's getting to the point where it needs to get completely replaced. Luke, you can go to the next slide whenever you're ready. So this slide here kind of shows some of the areas of concerns on the roof. I'll kind of start from the top right and work my way around. So the first picture shows pooling on a flat area of the roof. We need to take a look at the insulation underneath, make sure it's all sloped properly, replace the rubber membrane on that. Second picture is showing just open areas of the flashing where water's getting into. third picture, vegetation over the entire backside of the roof. Second, pic on that row is an area we replaced about 18 months ago. We're actually still chasing the leak for that area. That only shows less than a square of roofing. We're at 3 or 4 squares right now of replacement, trying to find where the leak's located. Another area where it got patched less than a year ago. Next picture's the stucco that's starting to get really frail, letting water through here and there. Next 2 pictures are the valleys in different areas, the rubber membranes meeting the shingle roof. It's just starting to get really frail, deteriorating, not keeping the water out. And then the last 2 pictures are just kind of overall damage to the roof themselves. Next slide, whenever you're ready, Luke. So on this slide, this is the additional work we have on top of the roof that we're doing within this project. It's kind of just more images of the stucco that needs to get repaired. We have an issue with our chimney vent. It's over the years lost its cap. It's the metal has shrinking and expanded and left big gaps between the exterior and interior of the stainless steel. It was allowing water to get in. Not good. I ended up doing a in-house foil tape repair on it. It's held up decently well since, but it needs to get professionally repaired. And then just an image of the power washing and brick restoration we're looking to do within this project. Next slide, Luke. So this slide I put together, we had a company out we use called Garland Roofing, and they don't do the work, they sell product. They don't really have any skin in the game. We sat down, went over the whole roof, went over the whole specs of everything. You know, he's talking a little bit under $275,000 he felt to do the work. And that's with us deciding if we're gonna put a coating over the rubber roof or replace the rubber roof entirely. Certain places we have to replace the bad areas, certain seams has to get re-glued down, but they have a product that can actually refinish the roof for a cheaper margin. That's why there's a variance between the rubber roof costs. But yep, just the overall square footage of the roof, just an image of what's going on there. Last slide, Luke, whenever you're ready. So here's the overall budget. We'll talk about the increase that Luke was speaking of a little while ago, a few minutes ago. Shingle roof, we're looking at about $136,000 to replace that at 6,800 square. Rubber membrane, $3,000, 3,000 square feet at $25 per. The other repairs are the stucco work, the some copper repairs, this chimney and power washing, restoration of the color of the bricks, and then the unforeseen charges. I put in 5% here. I know Luke was talking about bringing it up to 10%. The reason why I had it at 5% is I'm just trying to save as much money as possible. I was going to actually end up having to dip into the other repairs if the project's overall costs going out to bid for the roof went higher than the number I had. Additionally, we added the extra little over $40,000 onto the overall project cost. Once we started talking about looking for funding from 2 different sources, we wanted to make sure the project got done right and 100%. Originally, I was going to be doing any decking repair, any rot underneath there, working on smaller items that now we could possibly put out to bid, make sure it gets done right, and a little bit less of doing it in-house and making it a little more tricky. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of things. If anyone has any questions for me.
Well, I don't know if you know the answer to this, Chuck. I know that what was the original roof way back when? Was it?
What the types? So I got back to 1970. And it's shingles, everything we can find. There was one period of time it did have a metal roof, but we couldn't find any dates on it. It was just a picture. The picture could have been from 1948. I'm not quite sure, but anything can go back on from what I would call almost the 70s from the information we got from the 1995 bid packet from the time before the last renovation. It's always been shingles, and they added the rubber to the new part of the roof.
Okay. So the rubber section of the roof, that's not the new addition from 1997, is it?
Yes, the rubber
Okay.
section of the roof is new from the 90s, correct?
Okay, just checking. Okay, do you have another worksheet, Luke?
I
Or
do.
does anybody else,
So
anybody else have any questions for Chuck or?
We had discussed the historic preservation standards at the last meeting. Does the budget reflect compliance with those?
The
so
thing is, it's not on the National Register, so
It's on the Massachusetts though.
it's in
well,
the
so it's
imagery.
on Macris, the inventory, but it's not on the state register
Oh, it
or the
isn't.
national. Yeah.
Right,
So-
but if we
so-
spend historic preservation funds, then we need to have historic preservation.
Yeah, so when so I've tried to contact a variety of people to get clarity on this. I was able to speak to one person at the National Park Service who said, "Oh, this is not a big deal. You would basically be falling under the rehabilitation category. There are 4 categories that you're supposed to do compliance with." She said if it's just asphalt for asphalt and rubber for rubber, then that's a neutral. It's not an issue. And everything that I was reading other places that I was able to track down suggested that as far as the preservation restrictions go, since it's not a national register or state register, then we would coordinate with the historical commission and they would be the authority on the work to be done. I have finally tracked down a contact who's been sick all week at the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And I haven't been able to speak with him, but I'm hoping that he can give me some more detailed final information about what would be required from the arrangement with the Historic Commission.
Are you talking historic commission, the air commission or the state?
Yes.
The air
Sorry. Yeah, apologies. Yeah. So the Air Historic Commission.
Okay.
And I met with them this afternoon, and this was the first chance since the last time I met with you all for me to speak with them, and they are supportive and will be providing a letter of support. And we discussed what other research might need to be done, perhaps through town council about the kind of preservation restriction arrangement between the library and the historic commission. I wish I had more details, but that's kind of where the research has gone so far.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for doing that legwork and for the 2 projects that would probably be somewhat comparable to look at. The historic preservation restrictions would be the Fletcher building and the old fire station, which of course the project never advanced, but we had gone through to have those restrictions, I think, drafted at least for the project.
The fire station never got on the register.
Right, but the
station was
library is
never on
also not on the register, right?
What's that?
The library is not on the register, right? So that's
It
why
is
I'm
not,
saying it's a
no.
comparable one
But
where
they're also replacing in kind. It's taking asphalt off, putting asphalt on. So that's all in kind. And we felt that that's not a big change.
Mhm.
And
So, Janet, I'm sorry.
No,
Can I
go ahead.
Sorry, can I just ask a little bit of clarity about what you said about your research? If I'm just looking at the map that that Chuck was looking at, let me see here. Where did it go? This overhead. Can you see my mouse, my pointer?
Yes.
Okay. So the historic building is this portion. If you're saying that the funds, we can only use CPA funds to cover the historic building roof, I guess that's my question. Are you saying that capital would cover this blue shape and the backside?
So the backside is also new, that all that was built in 97,
Yeah, everything on here is from 97.
except for the front.
Janet,
Yes.
could I ask you a question, which is, in the past, we have funded, I think, using the historical category, we've funded things like generators that aren't historic themselves, but are preserving, are helping to preserve the building itself. And it seems to me that this is very much, should be very much like that.
Well, this is like what I was trying to explain, to Stuart, saying that, this all has got to be done together. And where, some of the leakage, possible leakage, could be occurring is in, one of the rooms that contains all the historic documents, the netting, the
Yeah.
netting. So with that, I mean, again, I'm going through, like, say, some of the documents, about the historic, resource fund. If it's determined by the historic commission that, that this is a significant resource within our town, it will be pretty much given the approval of the historic commission to get this done. And we can use some of the undesignated reserve, we can break it off that way. So part of it will be the historic and the rest comes from undesignated. I see Julie just chatted, that she supports Jess's comment. So with that, I think, we should be able to get along, be able to do that, knowing that the historic commission says that this is a viable, I mean, again, it's a total project.
I mean,
So,
to me, this is an historical building in Ayer, and it's a major public resource, so it seems a no-brainer to me.
yeah, I know where you're coming
Give it
from.
as much support as we can. So.
Right, I agree. Chuck,
Hey guys, I didn't want to just interrupt. So part of the flat roof itself actually is covering the historical original building, how they blended the new building into the old building. Some of the flat area, I don't want to say exactly, but probably like 30 feet of it is actually part of the historical end of the building now.
mhm. And no matter what, again, it goes back to, it's the town that gives the approval. We go ahead and, we send it, if, depending upon we get the public hearing next month, if we approve this and everything, but that's the progress. And no matter what, it's the final at town meeting where the town gives the approval. And if we can break it up, because overall, we don't really have, hold on, I'm trying to see how much money we have left, in the budget. We don't have enough in historic anyways. So we're gonna need to take stuff out of the undesignated. No, we do. We got like 227 thousand in there, but I think we could probably break it up and take care of the request. To answer your question, Luke, we can figure out a way to make sure that it works.
Okay.
All right, Beth, go ahead. Does that meet your need too, Beth? Because I know that on the coalition site, it says that if the historic commission gives the okay, then it's that it's a vital, historic significance in town, then it's approved.
I'm not sure what you're asking there, but I was just gonna say the, the historic preservation restriction would only apply to the historic portion.
Correct. Okay.
And I would have to reread the legality of that implication. Like, that, I don't know.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have you continue, Luke.
Okay, yeah, sorry to kind of jump around here. So just starting, you all asked for the description of the project. That is, I basically used the same paragraph from the eligibility application for that portion. And I just add a little bit of text at the bottom, talking about why we've increased the overall project budget and the initial request of the CPC. But so you asked what the goals of the project and who will benefit and how will success be measured. We really just want to protect everything in the library. We want to protect the building. We have, irreplaceable resources in the nutting room, the reading room, which is the ceiling of the reading room that fell down a couple of years ago, is in the historic building, and a cause of that ceiling failure was identified as long-term leaks from the roof. So we don't want that happening in the room where our archives are, or where any patrons are. It's a public safety issue, to me. So anyone that uses the library is going to be a beneficiary, but especially, residents and taxpayers who are for decades have contributed funds to building the materials collections in the library and maintaining the building, right? If we don't handle this now and we lose a portion of our collection, whether it's new or old, then that's not we're not taking care of the investment that the town, that the residents have made in the library. And the success will be measured just by the fact that we aren't having leaks. We're not seeing this increased damage, and we'll just have more a secure facility. You talked about, or you asked us about Community Preservation Committee criteria, and so I went through the document, and there's something that's we can speak to almost every item that you ask for. The current town of Ayer master plan, as it says there, places a higher priority on collaborations between the Community Preservation Commission, Historical Commission, and Library that would result in a historic preservation plan that would identify historic resources, local needs and priorities, and create a long-term strategy to ensure that Ayer's heritage endures and is documented, preserved, and promoted, right? I'm still relatively new and gaining my bearings and chipping away at different pieces of the master plan, but sorry. We can't do that work unless we have a repository for it, so taking care of that space is super important. The community preservation plan that you've put together talks about adaptive reuse of historic buildings for community centers. Now, when I read that, I hear you talking about other places, but as far as we're concerned in the library, the library is the foremost community center space presently. And it's been a priority of mine as a new director to move more in the realm of making this a community space with an emphasis on connection and community building and people being in the space and gathering. And so I think this speaks to that priority of yours by ensuring that the library can continue functioning as that community space. It saves resources that would otherwise be threatened. That's one priority of yours. And it essentially preserves town-owned assets. There's some nuance to the fact that the library is owned by the trustees but funded by the town. But there's enough closeness there that this is a town asset, and as Chuck eloquently put in his wonderful letter of support, the library was chosen to be the symbol on the seal of the town. And so, that's when the town officials speak to the world and put that symbol on there, it says this is a place that we've got to preserve. You talk about equitable access for underserved populations, like that's kind of an essential principle of libraries. We try and create opportunities for people to level the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, you do break it down, point by point. And I think what I'm going to do is, I know that we've got to bring this to public hearing. So let's see, what I'm going to go ahead and say is, it's all pretty well descriptive. And I think what I want to is check to see whether or not the committee is agreed to bring this to a public hearing in March. And if because I definitely sent this on to everybody, so they have had a chance to read it. And it is out. I mean, I'm going to replace the one that's out on the website because it was the older version, with the newer one. But like I say, we do have that. I think, again, I think what I want to do is ask the committee whether or not, if they have any major questions, above and beyond of, what what you've covered. And if this is something that we want to move to a public hearing in March. And, just so that we can, keep moving forward, with the night, because you did cover all, a lot of it, Luke, definitely. So, so I'm just gonna ask for any other questions. Beth?
So I guess I'm just wondering if anything came up at the local the Ayer Historic Commission meeting about pursuit of putting it on the register, because that, has been a recommendation, and just wanting to make sure that any actions taken now are not detrimental to future applications to put it on the federal register, and whether or not, it's worthwhile to almost like throw that into this request of, proceeding with hiring a consultant that would help to advance it towards the application for federal registry.
So what I shared at the Historic Commission earlier today was that, we also have not had a library trustees meeting since I've seen you all last of the whole body. So the first time I'll be able to talk more in depth with all of the members of the trustees will be next Thursday. But I was able to speak to our longest tenured trustee about the 2008 study. She said at the time when it was recommended to be included in the National Registry, that the Board of Trustees voted to not pursue it because of the possible implications for projects like this. And I know that Chuck has faced some challenges with town hall, and in principle, it would be awesome to have the Ayer Library on the National Registry. But when I think about I don't know, the whole package of responsibilities to taxpayers and residents, I'm not certain that the building being on the National Register is in the best interest of the best library services for the resources that we have. And again, this is early and a new landscape for me, and I'm kind of processing a lot of information, but at least it would be my preference for now to pursue this without attaching any kind of requirement of inclusion on a state or national registry.
But by simply getting the funding for a historic preservation project, you'll be entering into a restriction on the building. So just making sure that you understand that, like, because you're saying you don't want the burden of it being considered historic, but yet you're asking for funds that are only dedicated for historic buildings. So, I think that we just want to make sure that you're understanding there will be a restriction in place.
Yeah, I do. It's and maybe I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the restriction would be between the library and the local historic commission as opposed to between the library and a federal body. But I'm not I'm sorry, you wanted to talk.
Yeah, yeah, Barry can.
If I may,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any benefit waiting until it gets on the National Register. The roof is 30 years old. It is a historical building. We at the Historical Commission felt this is a worthwhile project. This is a valuable resource in the town. And if you're going to do it, we've got to do the whole roof. It's important to do that. And as far as the preservation restriction, we're going to have to seek counsel on that because it is a private building, but it is still historical. And they get money from the town. So as far as the preservation restriction, I'm not even sure who would hold it, depending on how they deem it as whether if it's a government building, we can't do it because a government building can't hold a preservation restriction on a government building. So that's where I think we need to talk to council because it's a split personality really. But we voted tonight to support this, and I think it's the right way to go. It's a viable, important resource, and I think delaying it doesn't help. So that's my 2 cents.
Could I just say that I think we have to sort of keep in mind that there are two different kinds of historical resources here. There's the building and then the building's contents, which are irreplaceable. And I agree with Barry that, this does need to move forward on the roof.
Right, and also too, definitely we'll be doing a grant agreement that we can lay out specific things as well. So I think that definitely will be part of, again, the agreement. So, all right. Any other questions?
No, I just want to say thank you, and I really support all these efforts. And again, I'm sorry for my audio.
Okay, Julie, no problem. You sounded well. Okay.
And I was gonna mirror what Julie just said. I think this is a great project, and I would very strongly support us moving this to a public hearing.
Okay. All right, then I'm just going to keep moving on here, Luke. All right, I'm just trying to get everybody back on the screen again.
Oh yeah, I can stop sharing. Sorry.
No, that's just me. With also to everybody. Okay, so again, can I get a motion from one of the committee members to move this application to a public hearing, which would happen on March 5th?
I will make a motion to move this towards a public hearing on March 5th.
Colleen makes the motion. Can I get someone to second it?
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So eager.
All right, I'm going to say Barry second. So let's go ahead and do a roll call. Jess?
Strong aye.
Colleen?
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Beth,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
and Sarah. I forgot to been including you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
and
I missed. Is Sarah our representative now?
well, interim.
We don't
Can-
have our commission meeting until the end of the month, so I'm just stepping in until we find a new one.
So, but we cannot count the vote then? Are we counting vote?
Well, I mean, I'm putting her in for being the interim Parks and Rec, so that we can have it as a unanimous.
I just don't want to disqualify our vote. So I don't know. I mean, maybe just, we don't need it for a quorum or anything, do we?
No, we don't need it for quorum, but we can just put it in as an addendum saying,
Six,
Right.
6-0 unanimous vote in support with the addendum support from Parks interim, etc.
Great, thank you. I just don't want to run afoul at all. We don't want this to come back to us.
no, understood. And it's like, oh, but this way here, like I say, at least when Sarah has the meeting with Parks and Rec, they'll know what type of items that we've got coming up. So, all right, that sounds good. So Luke and Chuck, just so that you guys have it in your calendar, March 5th, we'll go ahead and present this for public hearing, and it will be at the same time around 7 o'clock. We try to make it at the same, what we have for our regular meetings. You and I will discuss. I want to make sure that I got the right document up on the website, because these are going to be shared to the funding requests for if it moves from the public hearing for the town warrant. And there are 3 additional letters that was sent to me later, today, early this evening, that came from the select board, as well as the Friends of the Air Library, and as well as from Chuck, the facilities manager. So with that, and I think you're going to be getting one from the Historic Commission because you just met with them. So, all right, I know this was a whirlwind tour, but I think that does take care of, some of the questions that you had, Luke, and we'll follow up with town council and everything to see, what else additional we may need, and I'll let you know.
Just
Oh,
one.
Thank you, everyone.
Hold on, Beth.
Is there an intent to seek the Historical Commission, the Mass Historic Commission grant in March?
So I spoke with Robert about that opportunity, and he said that he didn't think the timeline made sense for what our needs were. Like you said, it was in March. I don't really the deadlines. I don't have the timeline right here, but we went over the timeline, and just considering the need for this project and the support that it already has from the Capital Committee and CPC. He said he didn't think that it was in our best interest to move forward with that or explore that.
Okay. All right, and I think you even stated it's only capital and CPC funds for the funding for the 300,000.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And just to clarify, I mean, our intent is to get this done, late summer, which or fall before we get any weather. And that state grant, I believe, wouldn't be awarded until the fall. So we would just be in a bit of a bind, or very tightly crossed fingers. So yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need that roof replaced. So, all right.
Yeah, and we would never ask to reduce the town meeting amount. We would only ask that the grant be pursued so that you wouldn't use the full amount if it was awarded.
Heard. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, all right, I'm going to move on to our next application. All right, Chuck, thank you very much. Luke, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, we'll be in touch one way or another. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the funding request from the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust. And the interim chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, Jeff Tillotson, is here. And that application is also out on the website,
Yeah,
if anybody wants to see it.
Madam Chair, may I share my screen and show you
Yes,
the
you can.
application?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. And good evening, all. I want to say thank you very much for, hopefully you can see that screen.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all. Surprisingly, I think this is the first time I've been in front of you all to make a request for funding. Last year, I forget where I was, but I was away. And I want to say thank you last year for your funding, support. By way of introduction, I'm not sure what you all may have heard about what's going on with the affordable. Well, let me go through the application. It's a request this year for $200,000, which is the same request we made last year. And if I may, I'm just going to roll forward to see how it breaks out. We're looking for $72,000 in the year to support the Ayer Rental Assistance Program. I could remember the acronym, but not what it stood for. The ARAP, Ayer Rental Assistance Program. And then the other funding would be put aside for future acquisition. We're building a little bit of a nest egg there. And about $3,000 for administration. We do need, our charter requires us to have our books audited. Our first audit went through. We had some questions. We were unfortunately unable to meet in December or we met in late January, just recently, and we came up with some questions for our auditor. So we don't have a published audit just yet. And that we expect to be able to vote on that this month in our meeting later this month. But our book's in great shape, I'll tell you that. We also were very, very fortunate. We have some in-kind work, and that is Alicia Hersey, the community development here in town, actually administers the ARAP program. And I'll do a quick, just touch the tops of the waves. The $72,000 is there to support up to 12 families with $6,000 in rental assistance here in town. We're going into our fourth year of funding, I believe. I may get my number wrong. I think this is the fourth year of funding. And we're in the process right now of receiving applications for it. Empirically, I'm going to tell you, we've had some extraordinarily positive comments come through Alicia's office. Folks who have said, wow, this has been so helpful. I've been able to catch up on my bills. One person actually said, I was able to add meat to my diet. It's just so helpful. And the landlords who are working with us like it also. It takes a lot of stress out of the people's lives who are being supported by this. So that's the ask. The application has the same reasoning as before. I'm happy to go through it if you all would like. I'll let you guys drive the bus along those lines.
Unless someone's got questions, I think, pretty much it's the same as last year.
Yes, this would be details we would have to include in the public hearing.
Correct.
But unless somebody had reservations about this tonight, I don't think we need full details.
Yeah. So I think you're all set, Jeff.
I'm going to unshare this so I can, again, Zoom's a wonderful thing, but you all end up like the size of a nickel on the screen. It gets so hard. Well, I want to say thank you very much for letting me make the presentation this evening.
All right. And one thing that also, and I think I'll mention it, probably during the public hearing, but I know that the planning board has been working on new updated zoning bylaw changes. And one of them was in lieu of funds that if a builder wants to go ahead and not build an affordable housing complex, and there's all this, if so many houses are built, whatever, they can also donate in lieu of creating those affordable houses, donate to the housing trust, and keep our fingers crossed. We've had that on the books for a while, but there's been a little bit of a tweak So hopefully there may be, some funds coming in the future. So,
Yeah. Yeah, if I may to quote Mr. Eason, and Mr. Eason, we've not met yet, but I'm gonna ask for your email address for somebody to talk about rail trails, something I'm very, very active in. But and how did I get? I
I don't
lost my
know.
trail of thought.
The zoning board.
Oh yeah,
and-
the zoning board of appeal. Yeah, and we have now implemented payment in lieu of, but we really want people to build housing for us.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
And Stratton Hill's getting 2 units, 20%, 19%. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on. So it's coming together. But what I was going to say was Ayer was a very forward-thinking community 6-8 years ago when we rewrote our zoning bylaws to not only up the we actually required so much affordable housing that the Commonwealth asked us to step back from our requirements and require fewer. Well, people weren't coming here because it was too punitive, they felt, or too heavy on them to build. And so, yeah, we really will push them to build the housing for us. But yeah, no, absolutely.
But, again, it's nice that we have got the trust so that, it's a receptacle for it. All right,
Thank you.
all right, Bruce sent his email address on the chat. Jeff, if you wanted it, it's in the chat.
Yes, thank you very much, Bruce.
Okay. All right, now I'm going to ask for a motion to go ahead and move this application forward to a public hearing.
I will make a motion to move this application for $200,000 in CPA funding for the Affordable Housing Trust to a public hearing on March 5th.
All right, that just made the motion.
Seconded. That's Julie. I second.
Okay,
Wait,
second.
Who seconded it?
Julie.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to do a roll call. Jess,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Barry,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and the chair says yes, and Sarah gives a thumbs up for Parks and Rec.
Yep.
All right, so unanimous, all 6 of us.
Thank you
All right.
all.
March 5th.
March 5th. Yes,
Yeah.
I've already put that on my calendar. Madam Chair, excuse me for one logistic. Bruce, your email says esamcrop.com or is it esamcorp.com?
Should be Corp. I'm not a great speller.
I actually wrote it down as Corp, so I just I was double
Thanks.
checking. I want to say thank you all, everybody.
All right.
Thank you so
as
much,
well.
and good to see you all tonight.
All right, same here.
Good job.
We'll
Cheers.
see you around town. All right. So with that, the next on the list is public participation. I don't see anybody extra here on the site. So if anybody's watching this on the YouTube video, and if you have any questions, concerns of what you've watched, and if you've got, like I say, any type of questions, please contact Carly Antonellis. The phone number is 978-772-8220, extension 100, or atm@ayer.ma.us. And she'll be able to get some messages over to us here at Ayer CPC. If not, we do have an email address of cpc@ayer.ma.us. You can email us directly. We really do appreciate everything that that you've all done. Oh, okay. I just want to know, there was another chat, so I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, Bruce. And I'm going to go ahead, leave it at that, unless there's something with regards to a committee that people want to bring up, the committees that they are on. Is there anything special going on with any of the committees that you want to share? Colleen, you guys already took part of the day, so for being the Housing Trust. Anything going out, planning or anything? Beth, nothing? Barry, I know you guys have been busy with the roof. Jess?
Nope, nothing significant tonight.
Okay. Sarah, anything?
I can share with you guys that we do now have an assistant director as of January 6th. We hired Hannah Saltzman, who is one of our maintenance workers, to full-time, and she is now my assistant. And that's kind of our biggest update.
That is great. That's good. All right, it's good. I'm gonna say good to hear. Nothing special on Housing Authority. I know that they're going to be working on creating more parking spaces as they get and revive, restore all the parking area around the building there. So this is going to be awesome. All right, if there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
Not everybody at once. All right, Beth made the motion, Barry seconded. And I think everybody's all in favor. Aye. Guys, thank you. Thank you so much for everything.